Hello, and welcome to a Fire Emblem Sacred Stones Difficult playthrough. This time we're going to be doing Chapter 8, and the topic of discussion this time around will be casual mode, yet again. And this time, also, just a quick word of note, I've been trying to record this. This is like the 4th time. And there's been so much background noise from cars and lawnmowers and ice cream trucks and everything else in between. If something happens, we're just gonna power through it. I can't keep doing this. Also, I want to mention that if you would like to speak to me, feel free to in the Discord. Discord link will be below, as always. And if you would like to speak to me about the game, a topic of discussion from a video, or any other thing that you would like to talk to me about, no matter how you came into contact with the channel or me myself, feel free to come there. I am also in 3 other Discords, Mings' Discord, Blaze Knight's Discord, and the official Reddit Fire Emblem Discord. I'm just there to talk around, chat, read, to do my research, and to see what's going on, to hopefully add some value to this conversation as a whole. Now, this topic was handled by people I posted on, what is this forum called? I think Sirene's Forest? Or Serene's Forest? If you know of it, from the initial reaction I've got from it is that it's not a very popular forum, I guess, but the welcoming that I got from the post that I put there is, I didn't feel any hostile or negative energy of like a standoffish degree, except for one person. And most people, or the people that commented, and from what I read, are pretty knowledgeable and agreeable, and they're pretty cool, so I don't really understand what the issue is for most people. Feel free to tell me in the comments if you have like a legitimate reason for not liking it, but the responses that I got there were actually interesting, and people engaged with the post about the topic of what casual play means to them or you, and a lot of the responses were quite interesting. I also got a comment on the YouTube that I'll address. He can always talk to me via however he would like to, Rawthorn, but I'll just talk to you here. If you want to talk to me in the Discord, that's fine too. And some of the comments, or some of the posts that stood out to me, I'll go over. But first, just comment on what's going on with the gameplay. I'm going to use the same team setup for this time around. Eric in the lead, Franz, the 2 mages, Arthur and... Arthur and Lute. We have Combe and Nimi, we have Ross, and I think... what's her name? Natasha's the healer. And Combe got pretty bad level up. It's pretty lame. Oh, and Joshua. Joshua's paired with Natasha. And that's it. Pretty solid setup. 3 pairs. No. Is it 3? No. Only 2 of the pairs have supported with each other. Combe and Nimi are close to their A rank. And I think Natasha and Joshua are only C. I'm not too sure. But that's about it. To comment on that. And getting out of that hole is not really a huge issue if you have people who you can trust not to get ran over by the first wave of enemies. It's not really a big deal, but if you misplace, as per usual, people can get knocked out rather easily by stray hits. And yeah, that's it. There's nothing really much for me to comment on at the moment, so I'll wait till something more interesting starts happening. So, to get into the first comment that I would like to talk about, the very first comment is from, or post, is from Ninja Monkey, and he said, not going for the lowest turn counts or max efficiency runs, meaning that the term casual LTC is an oxymoron. Now, my immediate thought when thinking of this is a person who takes the game very seriously, and I would also say that they're not really using casual or LTC as the definition that he's using for those two words are pretty static for him. I don't think there's any leeway in saying that, well, if I were to use casual, as like a really loose or a casual usage of the definition of casual, it's just that it means, and a lot of people have voiced this that I'll bring up, that casual is just a way of saying that you're taking the game not as seriously as you would normally, or not as serious as you could, with the knowledge that you have to take the game to the next level of seriousness or advanced play or anything like that. So even, or rather, it's a way of playing the game that is unto you, not as demanding as it would be if you wanted to push it to as far as you could push yourself to play the game within a certain parameter or standard. So, if you were doing an LTC, which is low turn count, for people who don't know what that term means, the low turn count, casually playing through that, would be just doing enough to get by. You're not trying to go for your personal best, and you're not trying to break a world record or anything like that. You're playing within the guidelines, but only so far, and to a comfortable enough level where you don't have to like stress out and worry about, man, I have to restart this whole LTC because this one dude messed up the turn count for this one map. That would be more of what I'm talking about when I say casual LTC. It's not as strenuous, not as demanding. You're not going for a personal best, you're not going for a world record, you're not even trying to be noticed, you're just doing it for fun. So in that way, it's not really an oxymoron. If you use that version of that denotation or connotation of the word casual. Now, I'm assuming that he means that casual is only for, let's say, the game mode, because there are several comments that also bring up the fact that casual is now a legitimized mode of play in the newer Fire Emblem games that I have not yet to play, so I can't really comment too much on that. But if you were to just use that, then yes, I could see that that would be kind of an oxymoron depending on your general clout with that the term LTC, which is usually where more serious players like to congregate and discuss and use that as their standard of play. Not everyone does this, but I can see where he's coming from. Now, another comment comes from... Oh, Ephraim isn't here yet. Oh, no, he just came last turn. And he still has Killer Lance that I gave him. Though, I don't know, I might default to the Javelin, just because he's a really good Javelin user. And Axe user's way back there. There's also a Archer. So yeah, not too big of a deal. But I kind of waste the ability to use a Javelin because I put Ford in front, but Ford's fine. Rest in peace. Oh, Soldier dodged at 88. I love this game. Soldier dodges at 88. Oh boy. Love it. Axe user dodging at 65. That's more understandable. It's like a coin toss. Closer to a coin toss. Oh boy. Man, that soldier really wants to live. Okay. Another comment I want to bring up and I'll just put a listing of all the people. There's like a conglomerate of people who say that the word means just for fun, and I'll show that. There's a conglomerate of people who reference the fact that it's now a legitimate game mode, and then there's a group of people that are very stringent on how you should use the word casual, and are kind of no fun, if I would be honest, in answering the question. Some people come off as kind of standoffish, but I don't know. Especially, I think a moderator came to speak, and they're like, you shouldn't advertise. I'm like, why just have a discussion? I'm sorry, I'm not coming with the proper form etiquette as a very first time. I don't really use forums that often, so my forum etiquette is not up to snuff or anything like that. But it was just to generate a conversation between people. I guess they took offense to that because I guess people just do that to shield themselves, which is understandable, but not really the purpose that I was going for. So sorry if you happen to watch this. I don't think they will, but I just want to say that. And yeah, that's about it. But overall, it seems like this term is overall kind of used in a negative connotation, insofar as good players or people trying to get better at the game wouldn't necessarily use casual as to denote skillful, or you're about to see some pretty interesting or just skill based play. Is not usually associated with the word casual, even if coming from a skillful player. I believe someone mentions who is that player? I think his name is Don151. LJ Walhout says, very true, in response to another person's comment. If I remember correctly, Don151 said that to him, there is no difference between a casual playthrough and an LTC at the end of his FE11 0% LTC. It shows me how many aspects there are to Fire Emblem, which attracts different people. He has an excellent point there. How you define what casual is sort of, I wouldn't say completely, but it's highly dependent on, thank you for that amazing HP level up. It's highly dependent. I actually don't hate for it. I like for it quite a lot. His support with Vanessa is amazing. It depends on how you personally not just view the Fire Emblem games or this specific Fire Emblem games, but just how you approach games, or maybe even if you want to get philosophical, life in general. It depends on what your aptitudes are and how you go about approaching things. If you like to not waste a lot of time, if your quote definition of efficiency is primarily focused on eliminating how much time it takes to do a certain action, then you may be into challenging yourself with the LTC playthrough. And anything that is not LTC kind of fits in that realm of casual play. But if you don't mind that, or let's say you do have that aptitude for doing it, Ross, doing it, you need a couple more points of strength, but you're, I'm into this. If you're so far beyond the average level of play that most people are on, if your level of casual is at the level of the average player playing LTC, then yes, you're kind of like at the top of that mountain, and anything below or slightly below that top of the mountain, other people look on from an average viewpoint as, oh my gosh, look how far up he is. I can't believe he can do that. And from his point of view, he's just like, it's just a Monday. I'm just doing a casual LTC. So yeah, there's a lot of credence to that statement. All right, gonna look at another comment. This one is from Henry Midfields, and he says, casual mode I think is quite similar yet distinct from what sometimes I see as story-focused mode. Fire Emblem can have a casual mode for people who just want to enjoy Fire Emblem's gameplay and story at their own pace and pleasure, not delving their mind too much into either. On the other hand, some games like Persona 3, Golden, and such, I believe also is the case for Radiant Historia, describe their lower difficulties as story-focused, where you don't care too much about the gameplay, except for not screwing up the basics in battle, but you actively follow and think about the game's story. The closest example of where casual mode becomes a story-focused mode in Fire Emblem would be the duologies of Teleus and/or Judge Troll, I think. You can have a casual attitude about gameplay and have a focused attitude on the story or characters or the background history. So Henry brings up another great point. Depending on what aspects you attach casual to, because playing a game is more than just the gameplay. Some people don't agree with this. Even though I highly lean on the gameplay first mantra of playing video games in general, I do understand that sometimes, and especially in RPGs, the story is paramount to a lot of people and to the essence of what the game is. As noted with the arrival of Kingdom Hearts 3, the story is a huge part of that game's identity and what it brings to the table as a game in and of itself. Obviously the gameplay is going to be a large factor in that, but the story is also just as big, if not greater, for some people's personal scale than others would give it credence for. So, I don't know. The being casual towards the story is what most people are when they're just playing the game just for the gameplay, and there are people who are just casual towards the gameplay because they want the story, or they can be casual towards both and are just kind of there doing something in the background, talking to friends or something like that. Or you can be casual to another aspect of the game. Let's say that you're not really playing the game for the story or the gameplay. Let's say you're playing to hear a certain soundtrack, or you're there to see a certain scene to study the animation or marvel at it. It doesn't really have to do with the story or gameplay. You just like seeing a certain cutscene for the novelty. I guess you could give that person like a degree of how much of a casual they are, and the aspect of how many points of casual do you assign to this game. Can you be a casual in the story, because the story is actually quite prominent? Can you be a casual in gameplay, because most games have a huge emphasis on the gameplay interacting with the game itself? Or can you be a casual in the fact that you know about both of those, but you don't know about the story, or the music, or you don't know about, I don't know, the art style, or history of what's going on, like who the developers are, or who the company is that made the game. So you give all these points of contention a gradient of how knowledgeable you are, or how much skill you have in being able to address or complete a certain task or challenge in an area. And if you fail in too many areas, you're more of a casual than a certain other person who may have 3 points in one area but lacks heavily in another area because it doesn't interest them or what have you. So I guess you could use that as a gradient scale too. If you assign multiple points of the game itself as a level that you could be somewhat knowledgeable or skillful in, then you can have multiple points of being a casual. And the more points you have, and as many areas as you can have in the game, then the less of a casual you can be. I think that's the way people like to use that as a gradient as well. Also, thank you for that angelic robe. And I think I gave Ephraim the rain leaf, so he's going to completely annihilate those guys. Rip victim number 1. One shot. Ooh, amazing level up. Victim number 2. One shot. And victim number 3 is right behind him. Oh wait, I guess, oh yeah, this was kind of dangerous. Ford was in a lot of trouble right there. Yeah. I forgot the other guy had a javelin. I don't know if I still have, yeah, I haven't even used it yet. I equipped it the first time, but I ended up not using it. Do I use it this time? Or, nope, just go for the rain leaf. And he's dead. Alright, to get to another quote. Whose quote? There was one quote that was, or post, that was extremely thorough in how they, or I'm sorry, they brought up a certain area of the topic that I wanted to talk about. There aren't too many opinions here to whom I have largely dissenting views with or against, and that's kind of no fun because the discussion gets kind of homogenized, and it just ends up being well, in a certain way it is kind of useful because you get to build a case around that. If you have a lot of different areas of agreeable points, you can just add to the cache of building the overall argument or case study. But for here, I'm looking for really interesting opinions that may be extremely different from my own. And I don't think I have enough of a sample size, but I'm still happy for the people who did decide to go out of their way to speak. And hey, there is the A rank for Coleman Nimia's support. I love their conversation so much, or their relationship and support conversations in general are so cute. I love them together. Let's see. Is it Kaze's favorite pillow? Maybe it's him. Alright, let me read his. For many Fire Emblem fans, casual means everyone who doesn't complete a map in 2 turns. I kind of disagree on that because there are other ways to see how good you are, aside from LTC, like routing defense maps, doing a run without promoted units, etc, etc. For me, it seems who does that stuff to have fun, sometimes going through self-imposed challenges, like playing certain ROM hacks, not to test their skills, but just to make things more spicy. I can give you an example of this. Recently, I got into Castlevania, and to make things cooler, I played my second run of Arya's Sarrow with the cold Nous that prevents you from using items to recover HP and MP. Not to become a pro, just to see how the game would change. Back on topic, I play lots of Fire Emblem ROM hacks just to see how fun they are, or fun they can be instead of seeking for a challenge in the other ways that most people do, like LTC. Also, I never play with efficiency in mind unless I find the map I am playing extremely boring. Alright. So, I agree with that first sentence. Like, you're really speaking to me with that first sentence, I'm not gonna lie. The fact that so many people that I have spoken to or have commented on many of the videos that I have been a part of in one way or the other, they seem to have this catch-all, end-all, be-all standard of, if it's not the efficiency standard, then it doesn't matter, or it's not useful because it makes the game tedious. And I harshly disagree with that sentiment. It feels like, not like a personal attack, but it feels like those people have dealt with a lot of not so agreeable people that are kind of loud and obnoxious, that are like routing defense maps are like the best thing ever and everything else is wrong. But I guess that crowd was a bit more mature about how they handled their favorite game mode, and have people who give it a little bit more legitimacy and credence, which I respect that. And I do see the appeal personally in an LTC, or just getting through the game as quickly as possible. Speedrunning is a thing that most games have the ability to do when you play it on its highest level. So, and it's like an entire movement. Speedrunners on Twitch and the different speedrunning, I don't want to say conventions or con, but it's not really a get-together. A speedrunning get-together. What do you call it? Like, summer games done quick? Those type of events? The charity events, I guess? And LTC is just a form of speedrunning, more or less. There was one comment, I forget who it was a comment on, I think it was on my video a while ago, it's just like, speedrunning is not the same as LTC or something like that. And I'm like, no, it's not. The way you're defining speedrunning is obviously not what I'm trying to get at. LTC is a form of speedrunning the game, as in, you're trying to get through the game in a way that is quicker, or you spend less time playing the game and you're trying to route out different ways of getting through the game as quickly as possible, which is a form of speedrunning. You always have these different categories for speedrunning, like 100%, 0%, no tasks, 100% using the tasks, or 100% or 75%, you gotta use the specific route, or you gotta use a specific character or something like that. There's always like different categories of using. Thank you, Natasha. That was an amazing level up. There's always different ways of categorizing how you go about speedrunning. And I think it's a bit disingenuous in just shouting from the rooftops that that's not speedrunning. Because in a way, it totally is a way of speedrunning. And to suggest that it's not a way of speedrunning is not necessarily ignorant, but you're missing the point. Or maybe I didn't do a good job of articulating what it was that I meant by saying that, which is fair. I'll give you that. But to go back to, it seems like doing anything that isn't what the heads of the community, I guess you could call them that, as a whole, view as not skill-based play or not skillful. And oh my gosh, they stole my lockpick. What am I gonna do for the next chapter? I want to die. No, it's fine. It seems like playing in a way, or coming up with your own type of challenge run, is not as official or not as respectable as it is just mindlessly playing the way that they're telling you that this is how the game is supposed to be played, rather than coming up with your own type of challenge, and it's not seen as serious. But in that same light, you don't want to just have every single arbitrary challenge just being put out there as the way we play the game, because not every challenge deserves to have like its time in the spotlight. It needs to be a little creative. It needs to be a little more meaningful than just, I'm gonna play the whole game except without this one particular character. It depends on what the context of the game that you're playing. Like this game, there's so many units that I want to play this game, but I'm never going to use Amelia. You literally lose nothing from what you're able to do. If you have access to doing everything else, but you can't just use her, then it's not really a meaningful challenge, as she's an optional character anyway. But a more meaningful challenge would be, I need to get through the entire game, but you don't promote anybody, and you have to recruit everybody, and you need to have at least 5 supports by the end of the game, more or less. Something like that is a little bit, you have to have a little bit more knowledge about the game, about how to route getting people in position to recruit this certain person from the certain turn, from the certain chapter, and have to make sure that they're standing next to each other so they can get supports. Maybe want to cut down on time, or maybe there is no time limit because I'm also trying to route as many enemies as I can, so it kind of works in tandem with the ability to pair them together, but not do that arbitrarily, because you're also using that time, or that spare time, to make sure that the what do you call them, the units who come after a certain amount of time passes, the reinforcements. Ooh, I couldn't think of that. So it's like you're a big web of interconnected plot threads that are all being weaved together to make this really interesting challenge mode for people who want that type of playstyle. But the people who are at the top don't really see this. They just see this as a way of cheapening out the experience, when the experience should not be predicated on just what they see as the most important aspects of the game. Because there are other aspects that they're completely neglecting for, in my opinion, arbitrary reasons, or pretty discriminatory reasons. You're calling out like a whole group of players for playing this weird way because they find it interesting or they find it fun, when maybe you should be the one to step back and say that, you know what, maybe I'm a casual in this area because I just don't care for doing it in this way, or maybe it's because I'm bad at it, maybe it's because the tedium to me means that I'm not as inclined to playing it this way. So the lack of inclination, the lack of enthusiasm, the feelings of tedium that all go into you not having a fun time or not having a good time doing it should all play a role in you saying or admitting to yourself or to other people that you're not very good at doing that game mode. You can't sit there for long periods of time and just wait on reinforcements, because that is not engaging to you, which is fine. But other people find that engaging and interesting for a modicum of other reasons. Those reasons are pretty legitimate. They want to plan out in ways that have nothing to do with getting from point A to point B the fastest, and with the most efficient characters to do so. And even then, there's an argument to say, well, what character is more efficient in what scenario? Because not every scenario needs to be one predicated on, well, if I don't have enough strength to completely annihilate this guy, this unit's complete trash. Because that's another really close-minded way of approaching that situation as a whole. Or the situation and calling something casual, and you yourself won't... Oh, what am I trying to say? Okay, let me invert that. I don't like... This is not me actually saying this. This is hypothetical. I don't like LTC. So therefore, I'm not going to admit that I'm a casual player, because I like to play in my own way that gives me the challenge to do what I find fun, So how can you call me a casual for not liking LTC when I like to play this way and this way and this way that requires skillful knowledge of the game? And you can't discredit my knowledge of knowing what to do or knowing what I'm doing is skillful because there are all these parameters in play that are, I'm trying to do this without saying the word objective, that have a point in me stating that these are concepts that are foundational to the game, and if I have control and mastery over them, then that means that I have some modicum of skill at playing the game. The game should not just be predicated on, well, I beat the game, so that's what the developers intended. Well, there's other ways to approach what beating the game is. Is beating the game in a game this large 100%? Is getting 100%, does that just mean getting all the characters? Does that mean getting all the characters that also come after the game and post-game? Does that mean just getting all the characters that come via the oh no, second point. Does 100% mean getting all the characters plus getting all the characters come at the post game? Does that mean also supporting with all those characters? Does this mean also playing the game multiple times to get all of the supports with all of the characters that are possible? Does it mean getting all of the items that are available in the game, at least one of each item? Does that mean clearing all of the post-optional content at least once? There's so many ways to look at what 100% actually means in this game, because it doesn't really give you a percentage counter. It's kind of like a sandbox once you complete the main story, or once you finish that last chapter. It's kind of on you, because it's in my as far as the knowledge that I have with all the other Fire Emblem games, it's the only Fire Emblem game that gives you like this huge swath of post-game content to do. So whatever the end of the game is kind of predicated on you, and it's kind of unique for that aspect, which is why I'm so drawn to it. And I'm drawn to games like this. So using standards from other games to dictate what is and is not casual gameplay is kind of disingenuous to a certain degree. It's disingenuous to the fact that while it does have some of the same concepts and it executes some of the same principles, it's not always the same in execution, and it's not really the same in execution in most aspects, and some people take great umbrage with some of the aspects that it chose to do, like giving us access to the tower or giving us access to skirmishes and things like that. Even though in the other games you could also kind of choose your way with the arena and bosses that replenish HP on thrones and things like that. I sure have spent a long time on this one post. But yeah, it seems that, well, to me at least, the people who are so deep and laser focused on LTC are not really willing to, or it seems to me from the reaction that I've been seeing, is that there is no real effort into wanting to change their ways, I guess, or to look outside of what they find fun or interesting, or what they see as skillful or demanding or interesting on a base level. Also, since he stole my lockpick, I won't be able to get those chests. Upsetty. I still got the angelic robe, so it's fine. But yeah, it seems like the word casual is in fact used in a negative light, and when you use inverse words like elitist towards them, they say that they don't care, but it really does get under their skin, because they wish to be like, not necessarily a casual player, but they wish to be respected. because they put in all that effort, and then you just to discredit what they do, it does get under most of their skins. Some people actually just don't care, and they're usually the people who don't speak, or they only speak with certain people, and it's just they're just doing what they like to do, to unwind and have fun. But some people, the people who respond, they really do care, and they don't want you to call them elitist, because they feel like their effort and the way that they like to have fun is not only, or I shouldn't really blanket statement this, but some people view it as not only are they having fun better than you, but the amount of work makes it should be looked on with this type of adoration, or oh, what's the word? Not just respect, but you should look to them for guidance, and similar to like mentorship, or no, scratch all that, erase all that. The people who get the most upset at when you call them elitist versus when they call you casual in a very negative and defamatory way is that the word casual that they throw at you and the word elitist that you throw at them are just kind of equal. They mean more or less the same thing, but inverted. When someone calls you a casual, they mean that you're not a very skillful player, you're not taking things seriously, you're slovenly, and you're not really worth my time because you haven't put in the work that I have to understand the game or concepts or anything like that. And when you call them elitist, you're saying that all you do is put all your time and energy into this dumb game about swords and magic and dumb zombies and monsters, and this is all you do. This is what you spend all your time on instead of doing all these other cool things that you could have been doing. Maybe you weren't good enough to do it, so you put all your dumb math work into playing this dumb, stupid kids game. People like to do that too. So it's kind of, maybe I should make elitism another video into itself. Also, I'm gonna do that thing that people hate. I forget what it's called. This isn't really for leveling purposes, but I really want... See, sometimes you just do things in this game just because of the idea or the implication of, I guess, role-playing. I've never used this term that way, but it's the only way I can really see the more I'm acquainted with what that phrase actually means, to me at least, is when I want a certain character to do a certain, oh yay, they got their support. The more I see myself just doing certain things in a game, this very specific way, because I've come up with the story of why I want this certain character to do this certain thing, which is another way of calling myself a casual, I guess, because if you like to RP or roleplay certain situations with certain characters instead of viewing them as math units that do this one singular thing, you're not a very hardcore or serious person, I guess. I don't know. So this is the kind of feeling I felt talking to people and dealing with that comment section, the first video, and going through the comments of all of the mecha videos. And also I saw it all over that post on Reddit. Oh, I can't think of anything right now. That lawnmower really did like mess up my whole flow. Oh well. I want a certain character to defeat a boss just for a really arbitrary reason, because it just feels like the little engine that could. You're just trying to chip away at a mountain, and eventually, like, when you cross that bridge, you feel like you're so much better for it, and the game like rewards you for taking the time out to just care for a single character for whatever reason that you give. Because you're having fun using them for this one turn or this one playthrough, or it's thematically appropriate, or it's just a combination of feelings that you feel. Like, it's magic user is an armor knight, so therefore I'm gonna try to use to try to just chip at him and see what happens, see if anything goes wrong. Then I'll put her next to the support and see if that changes any way that she interacts with the person or anything like that. It's a very casual way of looking at the game, I guess. Caring about the story over getting over the game, or taking your time. Taking your time seems to be like this huge issue that people who take this game seriously, or take the franchise as a whole, Fire Embleming, seriously have a great issue with. If whatever you do takes time, they don't like that. If it's not cutting down your turn count, or if you're not using the character that just has the greatest stats that are just so balanced and they're able to just do whatever you need them to do in whatever situation immediately that they put them in, then they're like complete trash. And if they get lucky, then that was just a fluke. And you shouldn't do that because statistics are just not on your side, and this character is statistically proven to be this, and that, even though the statistics themselves are not indicative of like your actual playthrough. Wow, level 13, and he's already catch strength. Wow, just amazing. Now he just needs some speed, and he'll be like the strongest dude in my party right now. And I guess that's that. It's gonna be this chapter, more or less. I think I'm pairing up a couple people for the support, maybe? I don't know. I don't know if I'll use Vanessa again, because I don't know if I want to use Ford, because I know I'm gonna use Amelia. Usually if I'm using Amelia as a Cavalier, I'm not too keen on putting either Kyle or Ford in. I just kind of lean on France, because you really only need one. Unless you're going for the LTC or something strange like that. And that's the chapter. So, I'll speak to you guys later. That was fun. I think I got kind of rambly towards the end, so I'm sorry about that. Next time, I'll make sure that I have things a little bit better planned out. And thank you all, if the forum people are watching this video, because I'm going to post this again, just to have more conversation, because this is so very fun and exciting. And I'm so happy that people are willing to engage with me on this journey, to figure out what it is that people are really wanting out of Fire Emblem, not just from the LTCers point of view or series players. Also, I went Erica's route, so there's that. Since people really dislike her route for some strange reason. There's the evil Tower of Valini. And we will be getting Best Girl next chapter. So there's that. And again, if you want to speak more, come to the Discord, or feel free to comment in the comment section, please. I just love reading and engaging with anybody who's willing to talk, because I can't do this without people who are willing to discuss this with me, because I'm trying to learn, as a lot of the points in my first video were wrong. So if anybody was willing to correct or offer advice or their own opinions. It's all valuable, even if it's dissenting. Just try not to be rude, like some other people were in that last video. Not the last video in this series, just that first Amelia video. And I guess that's it. I'll see you guys in the next chapter. Hopefully it goes well. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.